Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very special guest.
I knew early on that I wanted to make movies.
Such a difficult industry because there's a lot of luck involved.
I mean, look at American Werewolf in London, look at The Thing, look at The Fly. Look at these films that have really withstood the test of time.
I sculpted this Captain Kirk mask, and they didn't sell particularly well, but then John Carpenter came in, said, can you paint one white and spray paint his hair black?
I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and it scared the living shit out of me.
You're just racking up these people that you grew up watching. They're in your films. Is that surreal?
There were 35 directors there. If there had been a bomb dropped on that restaurant, never another good horror movie.
Bene's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to Manic Monday. I'm here with Malcolm Harvey, film historian Malcolm Harvey, and we're here to talk about the 1987 comedy classic Summer School. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's been quite hot here today, so, but I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there, doing okay, and but I'm in a good mood because this is probably one of my top favorite comedies of all time. I first saw this on VHS after it went theatrically. I didn't see it in the theaters, and it's a comedy, but it's a love letter to horror fans. I don't think it's a hybrid like a horror comedy or comedy horror. What do you think? Is it a mixture of the two, or is it? I think it's a straight comedy with the Yeah,
I think it's a straight comedy with some horror love elements to it. A bit like when you have Randy in Scream in a way, even though obviously that is horror. But I feel like that's what it is in here, but without the normal horror. So it is a comedy.
What I like about the film, it doesn't play around. It gets to the point. I feel like it just moves well. I mean, you open, it's the last day of school in high school. Yeah. Everybody's looking to get out. It's like they've been in prison all year. You know, I remember being in school and it being like that. Like the teachers, faculty, staff, students, they're all waiting for that bell. But, the school security guard goes around and gives a bunch of these students that horrible note, which they knew was coming because when you failed a class, right?
Yeah,
you know that, oh crap, I got summer school. And unfortunately, there's a summer school teacher who's actually played by the director of the film, Carl Reiner, and he's playing lottery, right? He's doing the scratchers.
He wins the 50 grand, doesn't he?
He wins the money, so he no longer needs to teach summer school for the extra money. He doesn't quit, but he's just like, I don't need it. But unfortunately, the assistant vice principal is looking for somebody. And he finds the gym teacher who has no tenure. So he has got no leverage. He has no, he has nothing.
He's just like that cool surfing guy, isn't he, really? That cool kind of chilled surfer beach guy, really.
Well, he's the beach guy. Him and his beautiful girlfriend are about to head out to Hawaii. And he tries to hide behind a bush. And then, of course, the assistant principal tracks him down. It's like, look, you got to teach, I know you're a gym teacher, but these kids, they're remedial English. So it's basic English class, and he's like, I'm not a real teacher. He's like, well, they're not real students because they're misfits. They're totally like, they all got their own issues and stuff. But I think Mark Harmon is the key to the whole film. I think if you don't cast that Mr., Freddy Shoop, right? And leading up to this, Mark Harmon was known for serious roles, but I think his comedy is really good in this. I really like it. He's
really charismatic in this as well.
Well, yeah, because he was known, really, I think Carl Reiner had seen him as Ted Bundy in The Deliberate Stranger. So, you don't think of this guy, this easygoing, laid-back guy that, just wants to surf and have a good time. But I feel like Carl Reiner as a comedy director is kind of like undervalued.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of really good things. And this film, to me, it's just obviously I have some connection to it. Growing up in Southern California, that's where this film was shot. I want to say the high school was filmed. It was the same one from The Karate Kid.
Oh, wow.
So it's got that, Yeah, I mean, it brings me back to a time, 1987. So I'm like 16. So I'm in 10th grade. I'm just starting high school. My high school was.
I thought you were in your 40s back then.
Nope, I was in that would make me like 100. No, but I was in 10th grade. And the funny thing is, I first saw this with a girl that I liked.
Oh.
at her house, and I had no game. I had no game.
Oh.
Now, you have to remember, like, hindsight's 2020. When you look back on stuff, I could have done this, I should have done that, right? But I'm this 16-year-old pimple-faced kid with no low self-esteem. You look back and like, oh, I would have done it differently. No, you wouldn't have, because at that point in time, that's who you were. You couldn't really change it.
Yeah.
So I have some bittersweet memories of this film based off of who I watched it with for the first
So
time.
basically, you're telling me that you watched this film with a girlfriend. If you'd have had game, it probably would have become a more exciting movie when you look back on it.
Yeah, it could have been like losing my virginity right there at that moment. So I could have really had much better.
Losing it, so you could have been losing your virginity doing the threesome at the end of the movie.
I mean, I could have been getting, losing it to, Chainsaw and Dave, talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I mean, from 1973.
Okay, let's talk about these two horror-loving guys. Let's talk about Chainsaw and Dave. I appreciate them. When he opens the locker, Chainsaw at the beginning of the film, you could see all the pictures of like horror movies, Fangoria in his bedroom. Yeah. They're kind of like, I wish I knew guys like that in high school. I'm sure they were, but it wasn't like people were out in the open about their horror fandom because you're a geek, you're a loser, you're this.
It wasn't as cool back then, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think it be more 90s, like late 90s on, kind of became more. Back then, looking back, I'm wondering if there was a horror club and I just was too blind to look into it and see if there was. There could have been, but I like how they wear their fandom on their sleeve and they, constantly talking about horror and what it means to him. And I think that casting of Dean Cameron, who ironically would go on to be in quite a few horror films, like he was in Bad Dreams, which is kind of like a riff on A Nightmare on Elm Street. He was in Rockula.
That's the one with Robert Lynch, right?
Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch, that's it.
And also,
because he's the cult leader in it, isn't he?
Well, what's interesting is they have like Jennifer Rubin from Dream Warriors, and the setting's very similar, where they get into a group and they kind of talk about their issues. And I think like Bad Dreams is like a kindred spirit film to A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Definitely.
So Dean Cameron is at that time kind of like late 80s to early 90s, kind of really developed like a nice genre resume. And I always liked him.
It's interesting because when you look at this film, nearly everybody in the cast, all the kids, have been in at least 2 or 3 horror films.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I brought up IMDb just so I wouldn't forget. I mean, if you look at Kirstie Alley, she was in Nico Mastorakis' Blind Date. Patrick Labroto, I'm sure I'm messing it up. He was in Boys Go to College. Kelly Jo Minter was in The People Under the Stairs and A Nightmare on Elm Street 5. The Dream Child, Shawnee Smith, The Blob, Saw. Fabiano Aduno was in Hard Bodies 2, as well as Austin Powers. And Ken Olant was in April Fool's Day. So either before or after this movie, they all kind of developed a nice little kind of cult following of film.
One of them was in Heathers as well, the jock kid. He was in Heathers as well. I think his name was Alan in the movie. Was
he the guy that was the football player or the stripper?
Yeah, the football player.
The football player who says, I need to pass this time. He goes to the bathroom and comes back 6 weeks later and he gets the best test on the score because his zipper was stuck. His zipper was stuck.
I just love when he's dead and they're like, oh, when after the score comes through. And they're like bashing each other on the head.
So all these great young actors, I think this movie was perfectly cast. They're horrible to Mr. Shoot because he bends over backwards for them. He shouldn't have to, like, literally they're having him do chores. He's a great teacher. He's laid back, but no.
You mean the wishes?
Well, the wish list, like, okay, I'm pregnant. Can you go to Lamaze class with me? I don't know how to drive. Come to find out the girl is also dyslexic. And, they destroy his couch.
The girl who wants him to take her virginity.
Oh, what's her name? From Melrose Place?
Yeah, it was Patty in the film.
Courtney Thorne-Smith.
That's it.
Right, but they take advantage of him. They destroy his couch, his Fish gets killed. He gets thrown into jail. They're so horrible to him. They treat him wrong, and he's the most nice teacher. I mean, he gets bored, and he takes them out to like the beach so they could see the new girl that comes in, in her bikini and stuff. Also,
even this was takes place on Mask.
Yes. I'm going to get back to that before I forget. Thank you for reminding me. They also go to a theme park, which is actually out here in Southern California. I grew up going to it. It's in Buena Park. It's called Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, nice.
And every year at Halloween, they have Knott's Scary Farm. It's like one of the biggest things down here. But so that whole scene with the rabbits where Dave and Chainsaw act like the rabbits are, eating them and,
yeah,
that's at Knott's Berry Farm. So you see them go on a roller coaster. That's the corkscrew. And behind them, you see a parachute ride where people are like going up and down. Sadly, those two rides are gone now.
Oh.
They've actually been replaced. Back in the day, they only had like two roller coasters, which was Montezuma's Revenge and Corkscrew. Corkscrew is gone, but they've gotten rid of other rides and opened up. They got like 4 or 5 big roller coasters now. So
do you go every year then?
I don't, but I went when I was like a teenager and stuff. This movie came out in 87, so probably shot in 86. I went quite a few times in my late teens, and it's kind of cool that, I'm very familiar with that setting when they go to Knott's Berry Farm and stuff. And no, I don't go as much now. It's kind of got the clientele has changed. You got a lot of people hanging out, and you just want to start trouble and stuff. So the kind of
get the pill you want to smack around there.
But back in the 80s, there used to be concerts at Knott's Berry Farm. Like I know Expose would go play there, and people of that era, that whole, freestyle music like Lisa and the Cult Jam. And it was kind of a happening place back then.
So basically it was cool in the 80s, but not so much now.
I don't think it has that same, it's a different time. We didn't have cell phones back then. So you actually had to make a point to go out of the house and go do these fun things. But
talk to people.
And talk to people. But what did you notice any errors with these horror-loving fans about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I did. They say 1973 when it's 1974.
It was shot in 73, but darn it, the screenwriters messed up. They're proud that they show Texas Chainsaw in class, and they're
the film is set in 1973, but it's 1974. So obviously they were thinking about in the movie, not the actual. Which I was supposed to be pointing out.
But when Chainsaw says Tobey Hooper's and he says 1973 instead of 74, it's not the end of the world. But I've gone back and watched some of my videos, and I've gotten information wrong as well.
They're supposed to be hardcore fans, and their kids are supposed to remember.
Well, I blame that on the screenwriter for not getting the years right, because there's a big difference between 73 and 74 when you're proclaiming, that you're the huge horror fan. So
what I will say about this film is, for horror fans, they have incredible makeup effects that they create for that one scene. Like, we just came up with that and just did it like randomly. Amazing.
They should be in the industry, right? So
yeah.
So basically the story, they need to get a certain grade on these tests to pass, and Freddy Shoup's job is on the line, and they take advantage of him. And eventually he's done. Just messed up his car, screwed up his life, turned his world upside down. So he steps away, and they bring in a substitute teacher, and Chainsaw and Dave have a plan. This scene, which you can see that borders our video here, was actually uncredited to Rick Baker. I think Rick Baker, he wasn't a big slasher film fan, so I don't think he wanted his name attached to it, though this is not a slasher film. This whole scene is a slasher film come to life, and actually the effects in this part, while brief, are better than a couple genre films a year as far as the set piece, the gore. It's so basically the substitute teacher comes in, Kelly Jo Minter's character comes running out with blood, and the assistant vice principal is showing this new teacher around. He kind of gets it right away. It's bullshit. But every character has a different gore gag. It's violent. It's great. Rick Baker, I wish he would do more slasher films. I know he's not big on it. He's not like Tom Savini, where he kind of is proud of it.
Yeah.
But you look on the credits of the film, and Rick Baker's name is
He
nowhere to
should
be
have been proud
found.
of it because it was really good effects for what they were doing.
I mean,
Especially
it's
the bit where it's cut in half and everything.
well, yeah. There's evisceration, and the Shawnee Smith character has like a ruler in her mouth, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of
And
stretched
the eye
out,
popped
and
out and
the eyeball
you know,
popped out, and
the hanging from the
the
door.
remember the one guy's kind of heads to the side, and the severed
Yeah.
hand comes along, and
The severed hand's hilarious because it goes next to the face. He's supposed to be, I think, dead. He's like trying to,
but then
because it's knocking him.
and then he pulls the tongue out. So I'm guessing Rick Baker wasn't a big slasher film fan. I think that's unfortunate because this is some of the best work of the late 80s of any film, and it's not even, I really do think it's a straight up comedy. Having watched it about a week ago,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a hybrid. It's a comedy 98% of the time, but with Chainsaw and Dave, it is that love letter to horror fans, and I absolutely appreciate that because that was back in a time where horror fans were a little bit more closeted. You got your Fangoria in the mail and you kind of hid it, and you didn't want people to see it. And
it's the time where
now,
you'd hide it under the bed.
I used to subscribe for about a year or two to Fangoria, and it came like in a brown bag at the time. Now I think it's like a black, almost like a morgue looking bag. But my mom got a hold of it, probably like 14 or 15, and she got a hold of it, and it was the cover with the movie FX on it, which really wasn't a horror film, but it's a really gory scene from the movie with a hacked up prop. And my mom was not happy. She didn't throw it away, but it was very easy to pull the sleeve off and see the cover. And it's like, Mom, you took me to see, all these horror films when I was young. I know the difference between reality and, and I get as a parent, you're like worried it's going to warp their mind and stuff. But I think if you educate your kids at a young age, you get, that they're going to understand the differences. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to be standing there watching The Matrix and thinking I can bend bullets.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a little bit of a different time. I think your parents would just sit with their kids. My mom was actually very cool with horror films in general. She was a little bit on the religious side. So it was movies that dealt directly with the devil that she had a problem with. So The Exorcist,
Oh, so things like The Exorcist, yeah.
Rosemary's Baby. So I kind of had to watch those films, kind of like sneak them in, rent them from the video store.
My mum, she was a big horror person. She loved horror, but she never wanted me to see The Exorcist or Nightmare on Elm Street as a kid because she thought, not because Freddy Krueger was in the dreams, but as a kid, I would die in my dreams thinking he was killing me or something. It was very weird. But the rest of it, she didn't mind.
Is your mom the reason you got into horror films? Because she watched them?
Yeah, she was the reason I got into arts films because that was the two genres she really loved. So we used to watch them constantly together and get them from like the VHS store and rental stores. So that's where it all started for me.
So what was like some of the first couple of films you guys watched together?
Prom Night, Marmalade Valentine, Island of Blood was one. I remember that. The Prowler was another one. Probably Friday the 13th because we started collecting them, the early ones, What else was there? Things like The Craft, stuff like that. It was kind of interesting because she would get these movies out. Oh, one of the earliest ones, funny enough, is Mardi Gras Massacre. We had that on VHS. So
she kind of encouraged it.
Yeah.
It was in your house.
It was in my house. And if there was horror on TV or an action movie, mostly Steven Seagal at the time on TV, she'd keep me up and we'd watch it together.
That's cool. I didn't know that. But let's talk about going back to summer school. Did you like the casting of Kirstie Alley? I think that she's actually really good, she's a teacher down the hall from, Freddy Shoup, and they got this good chemistry, but she plays really hard to get with them.
But what I like about it is she feels realistic. She doesn't feel like these characters you get where they get all flustered by the male character, especially because he's quite a handsome guy, and not so much of an ass as the other guy is. But she constantly talks to him as an equal and says to him, you know, at times she actually puts him off. And it feels more genuine when they actually do connect more, you know, like if something's happening to her. And I like that. I think she's good in this. I still prefer her in Blind Date more, maybe because she gets naked in that.
Well, of course, that's the reason. Well, I think what's funny too is that she's dating the asshole vice principal, who, by the way, it looks like, I don't know, does he have a rug on his head?
He's definitely got a rug on his head.
I was looking at it going, I think that thing is fake. I didn't notice that a long time ago, but I was like, it don't look right. It looks like he's like a black cat just crawled on top of his head and died. Because
that's the good part of HD. You can see these things more.
But I like how Shoop just kind of like eggs it on, because he's obviously the more attractive guy. He's the more fun guy, but he's not maybe like the guy that you want to bring home to your parents as much as the, oh, I'm the more serious dressed in a suit. But I think that's what makes Freddy endearing. He's just a regular guy, and he doesn't judge.
Also, what I like about him is he's never a predator either with her. Like, he's never, in these type of films, the guy kind of gets a bit predatory with the woman sometimes, you know, like trying to get her to like him. In this, he always feels like he's talking to her, he's respecting her, just saying, look, I want to go on a date with you, I like you. And I like that, because his character is a genuine, friendly, soft, you know, kind of like beach guy. And I like that. Even when he's at the beginning, you see him, he's just like, yeah, we can all go and all this.
Well, if you think about it, Courtney Thorne Smith's character is underage. And then she's like, well, part of what I want is, you know, quid pro quo is, I want to live with you. One, she has a crush on him. Two, he's going to go to jail big time. He cannot have that girl living in his house, but he never tries anything with her. He realizes that she's attracted to him. He's somewhat attracted to her, but he keeps his distance. And it's an interesting PG-13 film, but I think it's only because of the horror aspects. Not a lot of cuss words, and I love my cuss words, but it's written so well that it's all in the characters and their chemistry and how they get along. And never in the film does Mark Harmon's character judge these kids for their deep, you know, their deficiencies or whatever. It deals with dyslexia, with, you know, Kelly Jo Minter's character, who's, you know, can't really, you know, she's seeing things backwards. You know, she doesn't know how to drive. Other, you know, one guy's always sleeping in class because he's working overnight as a male stripper, which you find out later in the film. I just like that it's not a judgmental. It doesn't point fingers. It just kind of like deals with the issues, but it's not flippant about it. It's just, it's done so well that it just.
What I like about it is every kid's character comes to a conclusion at the end of the film as well. It's not like, oh, that one's a waste. We actually have conclusions, what's going to happen. Even when Shawnee Smith's character gives birth, we get to know what she's going to be doing. And I like that about this film because it feels real. It feels natural. It feels like they actually became like a little summer school family kind of thing.
Yeah, and by the end of the film, the whole goal is these kids pass. Only a couple end up passing, but the improvement is so big on these other people that it is a success. Not everybody passes, but some people go from an 18% to 44%. Yes, that's not passing. Exactly. So, you know, it does have the happy ending. I know that you know, us Americans, we love our happy endings. And, you know, Freddy gets the girl.
Can we talk about the threesome at the end?
Go for it.
Okay, so he gets the girl and they land on the beach, right? And the water's coming up. The dog runs up and starts tonguing them both, right? And Mark Hammond, Freddy, goes, "Oh, I'll screw you," and starts kissing the dog. It's one of the most. It's such a great scene because the dog's really getting in there. You know what I mean? Like, really getting in. You can see because these characters, it's like, oh, you know, and Mark comes like, mwah, and all this on the dog. I love it. It's such a great moment.
And it is a movie of its era. I mean, the Danny Elfman has a song in it. You know, former lead singer of Oingo Boingo. Everybody knows him from, you know, doing all the scores for Tim Burton films and stuff. And it's weird. Sometimes I worry about watching films like this that I haven't seen in many years. If I'm going to look at it through an adult eyes and go, oh, it doesn't work. But it's almost like no time had passed when I watched it. It's like this 90-minute just gets to the point. Not a lot of exposition.
It flies by as well.
But not in a. It's not like a Charles Band Full Moon current day film where it's like 60, 70 minutes long. It's a 90-minute film, but it goes so well and flies by so fast. You're almost like you don't want it to end. It's like when you're listening to the radio and one of your favorite songs come on. That song will always go by like 10 seconds, it feels like, because it's also enjoyable.
The other thing is his girlfriend never comes back.
Yeah, well, we know what happened is she went to Hawaii and found another dude. She should have never went on that trip without him, and she has the nerve to ask him to drop her off at the airport. That's the least he could do. It's like, what? Because you know what's going to happen. You got a lovely lady in Hawaii by herself. There's going to be some islander over there. It's going to be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
So but we never see her again after the beginning of the film.
Sucks. Great film. Absolutely amazing. First time I'd seen it.
Oh, you'd never seen it?
No, I'd never seen it before. First time I saw it. And if I got the chance to pick up the Blu-ray, I would, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, just so people know, there is a Blu-ray of it. Shout Factory put it out. It's not heavy on the extra features, but it's available on disc. I think it's a really wonderful film. It still holds up. It definitely, as a teenager of the 80s, it definitely brings back all kinds of memories. It's kind of like a time machine. It just kind of shows you.
Time capsule.
Absolutely. It's a time capsule film. The music, the clothes, the way people acted. I could tell you this one is one of those high school comedies that doesn't overdo it. Like you watch some of those films and like high school wasn't like that because they overdo it with everybody's happy-go-lucky. This film deals with, life, the good, the bad, the things that happen. And I do think it's it's my top 5 comedies of all time, up there with movies like Running Scared.
I think we need to start making a new series of videos called Bene's Memories, where it has a memory of an ex-girlfriend or something connected to it.
Well, in the way these retrospectives are kind of like, they are memory movies. I mean, we'll do newer films too. Retrospectives don't have to be 30, 40-year-old
I love these movies, though. These movies are great. I think they're amazing. I like covering any of them and every subject and stuff, personally. And plus, if I don't know the movie, it's even better because I get to live that movie for the first time. You've seen it, you've got memories about it, so it's like kind of like the original and the new, seeing it, which is nice,
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I didn't realize you had never seen it, so this was a surprise to me. But thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to wrap up summer school, but we will be back next Monday to look at the career of filmmaker Jeff Burr, who this is going to be kind of like a retrospective, like of a career, like the way we did with Anthony Hitchcock's. And Jeff Burr is known for Stepfather 2, Pumpkinhead 2, From a Whisper to a Scream, Puppet Master 4 and 5, Night of the Scarecrow, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. He passed away last year. Kind of like I am friends with a few of people that work with him that know him well. Darren Scott, who was a producer on From a Whisper to a Scream, and it kind of took him by off guard. I think he got away from Hollywood and kind of moved back to the Midwest. So I don't think people were in contact with him like they used to be. But that hurt, man. Him and Anthony Hitchcock's were very much these great kind of pioneers of straight to video 80s and 90s films. So I'm looking forward to next week and talking about his films.
Me too. I'm looking forward to that novel as well.
But we hope.
I think it's going to be a great video.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun. I will put the thumbnail up for it, previewing it for next week. As always, if you guys could like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. It's always appreciated. And we'll be back next week. And also, I don't want to forget this. Malcolm is starting to do videos again on his YouTube channel. It's kind of been in hibernation for a while. I've actually told him for a while now he should start doing them. So he
Sure.
recently he had his cousin on. They did a retrospective on Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And what was the video you did today? Physical media?
We did a video today on physical media, and we also did one on Abigail as well.
So now that Malcolm's doing that, I will make a point in my description of the videos to put a link to his channel. I didn't do it before because you could see videos, but they were pretty dated and he wasn't doing new stuff. But just so you know, Malcolm Harvey is at May to December, but I will put a link in the description to the channel so it'll be easy to find. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next week.
Take care,
Later.
guys.